This pump is insane, and it's just going to keep going. You need to make sure, pause this video, make sure you have at least a 10x long on Bitcoin going right now. Okay, part 2. Why FTR is going to make you 1,000 times your money. I don't know. I don't know. But it has to do with what the coin actually does for people. None of these other coins that you actually buy does anything. Doesn't change your life, doesn't improve your life. What if there was a coin that could actually make you rich? Not just because the price of the coin goes up, which it will, but because of what it does for you. In other words, let's look at these guys. You remember these guys from my last video. This is part 2. Remember that? Let's zoom into these guys briefly. Zooming into these guys real quickly again. The only reason Warren Buffett got super rich was because he had a partner named Charlie Munger. The only reason Bill Gates got super rich is because he had a guy named Paul Allen as his business partner. The only reason Steve Jobs got super rich is because he had a business partner named Steve Wozniak, and then later on Jonathan Ives. I absolutely guarantee you, if you name any billionaire, if you name anybody that's super happy in life, they actually found their soulmate. And it doesn't have to be a romantic soulmate. It can be a money soulmate. It can be a health soulmate. Have you noticed people that get cancer, suddenly they meet somebody in the hospital and bam, they're healed? What? Yeah, it happens. Have you met anybody that's just addicted to drugs, actually depressed, and they're going to jump off a bridge, and then suddenly someone comes by and stops them and says, hey, don't jump, it's okay. And they get married, they have 3 kids, and then they become multimillionaires? It happens. It happens. This coin, future coin, what if it could introduce you to your soulmate? Wouldn't that be worth something? Wouldn't that be worth a lot, actually? And what if it could introduce you to specifically the kind of soulmate that would make you rich? Wouldn't that make the coin value go up a lot if people started paying for the service and the developers that actually built this website bought back their own coins and people had to buy this coin to actually use the website, to use the service, to use the social network? They have to buy the coin. And if they use the social network, instead of just matching some random pervert that's going to send you dick pics, you meet somebody that's actually going to make you a multimillionaire. Wouldn't that be kind of a cool idea for a website? Meeting someone that makes you rich? How's that possible? Now I go into the technical explanation of how Future Coin actually works. You ready for this, or do you just want to buy it? If you just want to buy it, just go to Dex Tools and do a search for FTR Future Coin. Future Coin, it ends, the contract address ends in something like 87 or something like that. Okay, let me explain to you how meeting the right person on Earth enables you to unleash your financial, absolute prosperity potential. Anybody can become a billionaire. You just have to meet the right person that makes you a billionaire. That makes sense, right? Even musicians that become billionaires, or look at someone like, what's her name? The woman that wrote Harry Potter. Whatever her name is, she went to what, 20, 50, 100 different publishers until she found just the right one that made her rich. And then she made the publisher rich, right? You have to meet the right person. And so I'm going to explain to you how meeting the right person, harmonics, enables you to actually reach this insane level of power. And you can use that power for anything. Most people just choose to use the power to get rich. And so if you meet the right person, you get rich, just like these guys. I'm going to show you how that works. In this picture, here, let me go to it right now. You see this? This is how it works in music. This is how it works in music. Let me zoom into this. Click. Here it is. You see? Does this all make sense to you? I guess not. Let me explain this to you. This is, I don't know what note this is. This is a sound, and this is a sound, and this is another sound. Notice how the wavelengths are different? Even if you make the amplitudes the same, the wavelengths are different. The bottoms are farther away here, the bottoms are closer together here, and all that. Closer bottoms, farther bottoms, farther bottoms. But what happens if you play 2 of these things at the same time together? What happens to the wave? This is what happens to the wave. If you play 2 of these things together, this is what actually happens. What's weird about this is that you can predict when the tops are going to be, because the distances between the tops and bottoms, are exactly the same every single time. The distances, even if you mix these two, the distances between the tops and the tops are exactly the same. And the distances between the middles and the middles are exactly the same. Isn't that fascinating? Now, what if you mix all 3 of these? What if we mix all three of these together? You get this. And again, is it predictable? Again, the bottoms, the exact amount of time between the bottoms is exactly the same. The amount of time between the tops is exactly the same. It didn't drop, but there'd be another one right here. What does this mean? Okay, now let me show you how harmony works. These are the notes, and if you put them in a circle, these notes sound great together. The ones that are diagonal and opposed, if you skip one, or if you skip two notes. And these notes also sound great together if you skip. This note doesn't sound great together with this, but this note sounds great together with this, or this note sounds great together with this. There's a pattern to all this stuff. And the patterns are always perfectly predictable. What that means is these patterns are pre-established. They exist in the universe. They're laws of physics. Just like there's 9.82 meters per second squared or something is the rate of acceleration of gravity. These things are constants. They constantly happen. They're all the time. The same, if you mix this plus that, you always get the other. You always get the same result. So you were born, and do you think that when you were born, you, yourself, with your potential, your DNA, you think nobody ever had your DNA characteristics ever in the history of humanity? You think that when you were born, the amount of radiation from outer space that affected your DNA when you were conceived, you think nobody had that same amount of radiation when they were conceived that you had in history ever? You think you're absolutely unique. Oh no, the amount of radiation and gravitational radiation and gamma waves from space and the amount of X-rays and that I got while I was being conceived and when I was born, the first breath of air that I took that triggered a chain reaction in all of my cells, totally unique. Never happened before in all of existent human infinite history. Come on, give me a break. You are a part of this pattern. And just like the keys on a piano, you play the right counterpart. You play the right other note, and it sounds amazing together. You can do anything. Most people, like I said, just choose to become rich. But hey, you could write a book and give away all the money. You could write concertos. You could produce movies. I wonder, what's his name? The guy that did Inception, the guy that directed Inception. I wonder who his partner is. He has to have one. I don't know who it is, but he has a partner. I guarantee you that. George Lucas has a partner. Hell, even guys like, anyway, they all have a partner. So because these factors, these waves, these radiations repeat throughout history, it's possible to calculate who was born under what circumstances and conditions that would be your perfect harmonic match. Did you get that? Because everything is under the influence of radiation, and the radiation, whether it comes from the stars, whether it comes from a planet, or the gravity from a planet, this is all radiation. Even gravity is radiation. Don't forget that, okay? Gravity has a pulse to it. It's not just the single line that's just going. Gravity does one of these things. They just recently found out that gravity can also be a particle. Imagine that. Gravity is a wave and a particle, just like everything else in the universe. Imagine that. Anyway, these things all have rhythms. They all have pulses. And the rhythms and pulses that made you repeat on a cycle. Like, here, they repeat on a cycle. And when you pair your DNA, your personality, your nature, your temperament, your mind, your thoughts, your desires, together with a harmonic person that has harmonic, that's perfectly harmonic to you, you become unstoppable. You become superpowered. You become supercharged. Unlike those people you met in the past that make you lazy or depressed or miserable or have low self-esteem, this other person makes you super powerful. Now I'm going to show you to what extent radiation impacts the DNA that you are born with. Here's a guy's backyard. This is a speaker. This is a speaker. And then he's got a, what? Yeah, a water hose tied to the speaker, tied to the front of the speaker. It's just weird. Watch. You can do this yourself. You can do this in your own backyard. You don't have to use this guy's backyard. His backyard doesn't have any magical conditions. He turns on the water, water runs, and then he turns on a frequency. In this case, 24 hertz or something. Watch what happens to the water. Bam. Doesn't this look like you're Yeah, DNA, helix. It's amazing. Now he changes the frequency. Look at what happens when he changes the frequency of the water. And like I said, you can do this experiment on your own. Watch. Hurry up and change the frequency, asshole. Here he goes. This is how frequencies, radiation, affect everything in the universe. You don't think that radiation from the stars and the planets and stars literally exploding, supernovas, you don't think they affected your DNA when they were at their weakest, most sensitive? When the egg and the sperm cell were coming together? You don't think that cosmic radiation impacted you at all? Nope, not me. Not my DNA. Okay, so here's another one. But this one is in 2D only. What we've done here is we've got a plate. We've got a metal plate, and we're gonna put salt or sand on the metal plate, and just put a speaker underneath it and start running the speaker at what, 100 hertz? Look at what happens. Ready? Changing the frequency and look. Bam! Isn't that amazing? And you change the frequency now. You cannot form a different pattern. It's impossible to make a different pattern at this frequency. At this frequency, life does not exist at any other pattern. At this frequency, a different pattern of life cannot possibly exist because the frequency forces this pattern. Imagine this is your DNA. All the nucleotides, all the amino acids in your DNA. Look at this one. And as you tune, specific resonances cause specific shapes. What is it? The adenine, guanine, cytosine? You don't think these things are affected by radiation? Oh, look, a scientific article about radiation and the effects on your DNA. Interplace of space radiation and microgravity, even microgravity, in DNA damage and DNA damage response. Fascinating. Oh no, but not my DNA. What this means is that based on the radiation that you got when you were conceived and the radiation that was in the air the first breath you took, which literally triggers a chain reaction of resonance in your cells, you are a specific set of frequencies. You yourself are humming along at a certain specific set of frequencies, like the patterns of salt that you saw, that cannot possibly be any other thing at that moment in time, at that place in time when you were conceived and born. You cannot have a different pattern of you. The only possible result, if you were a viable fetus or viable life at all, is you become you. If you were born with 143 IQ, you can't be born with 141 IQ under those circumstances. Otherwise, you would have just died as a fetus, and a lot of fetuses do die. What does this mean? It means that since you are exactly the product of all these different waves, and since waves have harmonics, you remember that star chart with AGD, every good boy does fine. Since every single wave form has a harmonic pattern to it, has a harmonic complement to it, you do too. So all you have to do, wait a second, all you have to do then, are you telling me that in order for me to become super wealthy, I have to find a prosperity partner, whatever you called it, someone who unleashes my prosperity superpowers. But since the radiation that made me who I am, it's actually possible to determine someone who has the radiation levels or the frequency levels that would be a perfect complement to me. It's actually, but that would mean that I would have to be able to calculate the amount of radiation and the frequencies I was born with, wouldn't I? How else would you find my soulmate partner if soulmate partners are based on frequencies that you were constructed with, your DNA was constructed by? How else would you find this person if you can't decipher the amount of the kinds of frequencies that I have in me right now? Oh, but you can. Huh? Yes. Is this making sense to you? You were born with specific amounts of radiation from the stars, from Jupiter, Venus, Mars, and these guys, not only radiation, but they bounce radiation off the stars, they bounce radiation off the sun, they reflect, and they amplify, they trigger, they diminish, they deflect. And so all this stuff, all you have to do is calculate how much radiation you got, and then find a harmonic radiation, and then find who has that harmonic radiation. Let me simplify this. If you were born with this note, if you were born, let's say someone was playing the piano, and the piano single note was playing when you were born. Okay, super awesome, great. But sounds great with you put those together, and it sounds fantastic together. So all you would have to do is find someone who was born while they were playing in the background. You two come together, and even if you can't hear the music anymore, it would be amazing. You'd make each other rich. Okay, so you're telling me that Future Coin website does this? Hell, sign me up. What's the website? Okay, the website is futureview.app, futureview.app, first of all. And now I'm going to keep explaining to you how this actually works. So you know it's not just some weird metaphysical mumbo jumbo. This is actually based on physical harmonics, which is the same physical harmonics I used to tell you to buy Bitcoin 2 weeks ago, when I told you everything was going to pump, and I told you stock markets were going to dump. It works, guys. It works. And remember, when you mix frequencies, even the mixed result that looks chaotic is still predictable. Remember that. Okay, here we go now. This shows you Saturn and the Earth orbiting each other. Or orbiting the sun, sorry. Except notice how they're absolutely chronically timed. Look at how beautiful that is. Every single time, it's the same. Every single time, it's the same. And look at how harmonics works, even with music. So all you would have to do, literally all you would have to do, is figure out how far away your location was from the planets when you were born and conceived. And you can find somebody who was born at the exact time Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus was a harmonic distance away from the planet Earth. In other words, let's say you were born, when you were born, let's say Saturn was 5 inches away from the Earth when you were born. And 5 and 3 are harmonic numbers together. Okay? That's just a fact. It's just the Fibonacci sequence. So 5 and 3 are harmonic numbers together. So all you would have to do is find somebody who was born when the planet Saturn was 3 inches away from the Earth. Exactamundo. That's how that works. Now, if you find somebody who was born at the exact moment, Saturn was 8 inches away from the Earth. Now you have 3, 5, and 8. Now you've got an absolutely perfect trio, a trintet, or that's a quartet. Anyway, perfect trio, even more powerful. That's how harmonics works. I've oversimplified it, absolutely oversimplified it, but that's basically how harmonics works. Oh, I don't believe that. That's not. That sounds like bullshit. Well, if it's bullshit, how did I use that system to tell you to buy Bitcoin 2 weeks ago? And how did I use that same system to tell you to buy Bitcoin 15 years ago or 13 years ago? How did I use that same exact system to tell you to buy Ethereum, 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago? How did I to buy Theta, to buy BNB coin, to buy... It works. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to agree. It just works. Okay, so now that I know it works, how do I go and use it to find my soulmate? Can I actually find a really, really hot chick that's going to be the mother of my children? Yes, you could do that too. But like I said, most people, well, actually, they do that too, don't they? But most people actually, well, do they? I guess most people would like to find their sexual or romantic or married soulmate. I guess most people would. But you should actually use it to find your business partner soulmate. You really should. You really should. Otherwise, you could be madly in love with somebody and not be able to pay the rent, and that's kind of stressful. So first, before you use the website, no, I didn't even tell you what the website is. They just released the beta. It's futureview.app. Did I tell you that already? Futureview.app. Futureview.app. Go there. You can find your soulmate. But I recommend you finding your business soulmate first. Get yourself rich so that when you do find your spiritual, emotional, sexual, romantic soulmate, you can actually afford to keep her without stressing yourselves out and having to make her work for the man as you work for the man, and you're both slaves. So you're basically just slaves allowed a few precious minutes together every weekend, and even at that, if you have children, you got to be able to afford nannies and all that. Anyway, how this works is people look at all the other dating websites out there, dating apps out there that are making. Look at a website like what's that website? Tinder. You know how many millions of dollars it makes? Not a year. Millions of dollars it makes a month. Tinder makes millions of dollars a month. And what do? You find somebody based on a Photoshop catfish image? That's stupid. And most of the time, they don't even look like, they're not even nice. They're a pain in the ass. What if there was a site that introduced you to someone that was your perfect soulmate from get-go? The moment you met them, you're like, oh my God, where have you been my whole life? Every single person you meet on this website is going to be, oh my God, where have you been my whole life? Imagine if a website could do that for you. Wouldn't you pay a monthly fee like $30 or $50? Couldn't it make at least a little bit of the money that Tinder makes? Or Bumble or Rumble or Grumble? Or Grind or Brind or Mind or Find or... Couldn't it make at least a little bit? And if the devs use that money to buy back FTR, Future Coin, couldn't Future Coin go up 100 times, 500 times, 1,000 times? I rest my case. Get rich, guys.